is Aoife McAlindon. I'm a fourth-year student in UL studying arts and economics and linguistics. My FYP is titled I Can't, I'm on a Diet, and it's a corpus-based critical discourse analysis of fashion and beauty articles. The reason I chose this topic is because there's been a growing rate of body dissatisfaction and disordered eating in young women in Western society in the last 20 years. I believe that this is primarily down to direct consumption of the mass media. So my results showed how the thin ideal is marketed primarily towards women and how it encourages them to pursue unhealthy and dangerous diets in order to achieve the slender, perfect body in either society. As well as this, the results show a direct relationship between the profitability of the diet industry and the language used in these articles, showing how the diet industry is exploiting women's insecurities by selling expensive weight loss products. So for those of you who don't know, a corpus is a collection of text which is compiled on a database and studied using different features of corporate software. Features of corporate software allow us to have a new perspective on already existing language. The corporate software that I used in my research is called Sketch Engine, and it includes different features such as frequency word lists, collocations, and concordance lines to allow for linguistic analysis of your corpus. So, what is critical discourse analysis, also known as CDA? Is a transdisciplinary research, and it involves critically analysing a body of text in order to uncover harmful ideologies that may exist in societies, and sometimes proposing an alternative way to mitigate them. CDA therefore involves a systematic analysis of the relationship between discourse and other elements of the social process. In my research, my discourse was my corpus, and the element of the social process that I was examining was the stereotype of the thin ideal woman. Ruth Rodak, a linguist, once said that to be critical in your research is to challenge ideologies and not take anything for granted. So, for my methodology. In order to carry out my research, I created a small specialised corpora of 30,000 words. Small specialised corpora are perfect for examining specific areas of language like this. My data was gathered from weight loss, fashion and beauty articles from women magazines from 2008 to 2011. I bought most of these magazines off eBay and hand-typed them up into a Word document, or I got them off the Nexus UK database online, ranging from the same dates. I typed these articles into Word documents and uploaded them to Sketch Engine to compile them to a corpus. Once the corpus was created, I analysed my data using a frequency word list. I analysed the selected words in concordance lines, which shows how the word appears throughout the corpus by showing the left and right context. I then examined different collocations that came up on Sketch Engine. So here I've just included two screenshots of the kind of data that I was examining from Sketch Engine. The first picture is a screenshot of the frequency word list that was generated, and the second screenshot is an example of weight and loss in concordance lines on Sketch Engine. So for my findings, the first one I'm going to address is the comparison of food, calorie and diet versus exercise, workout and gym. The reason I've chosen these two groups of words is because they're both methods of weight loss that are advised by the articles and places. However, food, calorie and diet has 412 hits in the corpus, whereas exercise, workout and gym only appeared 68 times. It is reasonable to wonder why one method of weight loss is so emphasised compared to the other, especially seen as studies done on dieting show that those who engage in dieting behaviour tend to suffer from higher levels of depression, anxiety and lower levels of self-esteem. And when you compare this to studies done on exercise, which show the antidepressive effects of exercise on people and the better effects it has on mood and overall self-esteem. So, why promote dieting behaviour rather than exercise? I think the language used may be ideologically motivated in order to promote dieting behaviours, which will over time have a negative effect on the reader's self-esteem and self-worth. The reader's lack of self-esteem can contribute to high levels of body dissatisfaction, and this body dissatisfaction will feed the reader's desire to fulfil the thin ideal. They will continue to access these articles and a harmful cycle will be created. Secondly, I analysed the word calorie, which had 104 hits in the corpus. The strongest modifier of calorie found in the corpus was more, and here I've just left a screenshot of an example of how calorie was examined in concordance lines on Sketch Engine. So when I examined calorie in concordance lines, I noticed a linguistic pattern. For 7 instances, when calorie was modified by more was used as a contrast between a certain food or group of people on the left-hand side to compare to a different food or group of people on the right-hand side of the context. All comparisons fabricate the idea that the less calories something has and that someone consumes, the better. So there is a strong collocation found between calorie and count and calorie and gram. Collocations are combinations of words which naturally co-occur together quite often, and they can tell us a lot about the ideologies that lie behind the corpus that you're reading. So there's a strong emphasis on calorie and counting. Calorie counting falls under a broad umbrella of dieting techniques that contributes to disordered eating. As calories are numeric units that can be quantified, doctors say that it is possible that this will elicit a perfectionist and obsessive thinking pattern around one's eating habits. Women reading this material and partaking in calorie counting might therefore become obsessive with weight and body image, leading to a compulsive behaviour of tracking what they eat. Secondly, there is a strong correlation between calorie and gram. In all concordance lines, it was observed that calorie and gram were on either side of each other in context, accompanied by a numeric value and nothing else. There is no other information regarding the food. When food is studied in its most basic units, this is referred to as the reductionist nutrition paradigm. Women may begin to think of food in its constituent parts rather than its taste, tradition, or how it makes us feel. This easily allows authors of magazines to demonize specific food groups, and this may result in unhealthy black and white thinking about eating and manifests itself in food fears and anxieties. And this is the kind of behaviour that makes women very vulnerable to diet culture. So lastly, weight was the second most used noun in the corpus with 122 hits. The top modifier of weight was lose, which isn't surprising. However, it's not the combination of weight and loss in the corpus that's problematic, but when the variations of this phrase are studied in context, it reveals the harmful ideologies that lie underneath them. When weight and lose were studied in concordance lines, adjectives such as lean, sexy, hot, and better, attractive were used. After analysis of all the examples where this occurs, I noticed a linguistic pattern. These adjectives are used to describe bodies that have lost weight and are thin as a result. The message being sent to women reading these magazines is that in order to be sexy, hot, or better, you must also be thin. So what are some of the reasons and implications of this social phenomenon? The first is how women have become to be viewed as objects, to be admired, slender, and beautiful to society. So sexy, hot, and amazing were all objectifying adjectives used to describe women's bodies in the corpus. These adjectives were used to describe bodies that have lost weight and are therefore attractive to society. The message is clear: a woman's body is not her own. This creates a society where thin is beautiful and dieting is the norm, and this results from the gender stereotype that women must be thin to be attractive, and to be attractive they must be thin. Lastly, the role of the profitability of the diet industry in diet culture is a finding I believe to be most shocking in my research. So the analysis of the word calorie in the corpus allows us to understand the role the food and diet industry plays in diet culture. Calorie in the corpus is mostly used as a quantifier to explain that the less calories consumed, the better. The use of the verb to count with calorie also reinforces the behaviour that women should be counting calories in order to be healthy. The use of this language ingrains the idea that low-calorie food is good food, and we can see this how the diet industry uses this idea in order to sell low-calorie or slim food. We can see this when we look at the profitability of the diet industry, and healthy alternatives has risen drastically in recent times. The market is projected to be worth $245 billion by 2022 from $175 billion in 2017. However, when we look at the science behind low-calorie dieting, you can really see how the diet industry is exploiting its consumers. So scientifically, once a person has lost any weight from low-calorie dieting, their metabolism naturally slows down, meaning they have to eat less and less in order to maintain their new weight. So it's proven that most people who lose weight from low-calorie restriction diets tend to gain everything they've lost back in more than 5 years. And this is how the diet industry makes their money. So women will continue to use these plans or buy low-calorie food, they will lose weight, then gain it back, and they will continue to buy more and more diet products to lose this weight again. This is how the diet industry exploits women with these unhelpful products, because it is a massively profitable cycle. So that is the end of all my findings. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Hey, Aoife. Sorry.